Hi and welcome back to the channel. Now this is just an open match back at Heronbrook fisheries. Place is fishing out of its skin at the minute and you need a really big weight to win the match. I mean, there's been loads of £200 just lately. £100 isn't getting anywhere. So I was quite happy to draw Matchlake peg 18. It's opposite where I drew the first round of the Angling Trust Winter League. Well, nearly opposite. It's the end peg on the pool. The only concern I had was the wind was off my back and blowing up the pool. So hopefully there'd still be some fish around, but they tend to follow the wind on these lakes. But we'll see. So the plan is to obviously fish the method over towards the island. Knowing what I know about the other bank, with it being snaggy, I'm just hoping that I can avoid them. I did okay on the last match by picking the rod up and holding it high. So we'll see how it goes with that. So I'm chucking to the right hand side of the gap first, because that tends to be where people catch. Now normally peg 17's in, not 18, which is the peg to my right, and that island would be directly in front of you. So I'm just chucking slightly to my right to start with and see if I can get a bite there or get a run of fish there. I'm also going to fish hard pellets of 14 metres, feeding Fin Perfect 4mm, and then fishing a 4 and a 6mm in the band, again Fin Perfects. Up that left hand edge I've got a nice long bank, as you can see up that left. I'm going to hope to catch some carp along there, but like I say, I'm not really feeling it because of the wind. I've not seen much activity down here either while we're setting up, but you never know. And then I'm going to fish 2 4-foot lines. I'm going to fill it in with maggots on those 2 lines, big potted maggots. To my left, top 2 and 2, it's more or less in the corner, but I can just about get a nice little area where I can put some maggots. And then to my right, there's a little tiny shelf where I can lodge some maggots there and hopefully catch some fish there. And then if all goes to plan, I'll catch right in that edge, up that right hand edge late on, but we'll see. Oh, plus I'm going to be feeding maggots out of my hand in front of me at top 2 and 2. I'm just getting my second feeder ready here. Putting a Fin Perfect 6mm in the band. Then dropping it in the mould and then filling it up with micro pellets. Yeah, them hooks are sharp. It's a size 14 kkh hook, that is. Them like hypodermic needle sharp. So sharp they are. And they keep the points really well. I'm using a 30 gram ICS method again, elasticated with the heavy one, 15 hollow elastic. Just dampening down my pellets a little bit more. They felt a bit dry. I gave them a couple of minutes completely submerged in water when I got to the peg, and then left them while I was setting up. And they're near enough right. I just need a little tiny bit more water and that'll get them just bang on that well. So I've had my first chuck. I've not had an indication, not a liner or anything. We'll give it another chuck though. You've got to get quite close to the island on there because it shelves away pretty quickly. So to get the shallow water, you've got to chuck it quite tight. Now I've got some meat with me on my tray as well. I'm not sure if I'm going to do anything with that because I've not caught on the meat the last couple of times I've been on here. And I've got a feeling it's going to be maggots that's going to do the damage. But we'll see. So 3 casts to that point of that island, and I've never had a single indication. So I'm now chucking to the left of the gap. Right, I'm trying to get it as tight as I can because it deepens off pretty quick. So I've got to get it pretty close to find some shallowish water. It's took me 3 casts again, but I've eventually hooked a fish, and it feels like a carp, this does. It was only a very delicate bite, this was. You've got to lift into everything because you never know. 10 foot superior again, and I'm using a magnitude 420 reel with £6 sinking feed I'm on out. I've got an O19 hook length with a size 14 kkhb on. Again, like I say, I'm fishing a 30 gram ICS, elasticated. And at the moment I'm using a 6mm Fin Perfect pellet. And this fish don't like it. Still got a lot of energy in him, look. Safer for me to use a disgorger than risk pricking my finger with the hook or the way he's jumping about. Still going mad when I'm trying to drop him into the keep net. Not a happy fish. So all I've got to do now is unclip that method, knock that out the mould, and I'm back ready to go again. Really quick. Nice little plop up against the island. I'm also feeding 6mm Fin Perfects over the top of that to try and attract more fish into the peg. Make a little bit of noise, try and drag some fish in. But it's not brilliant. I mean, it's took me 41 minutes to get that first bite. That's a long time by Heronbrook standards, to be honest. But it's not too long and I've hooked another one. Hopefully there's a few here now. I'll start putting some fish in the net. I'm looking up the pool as I'm fishing and I can see, I think it's Andy North on peg 12. He's having a fisher chuck short. And like, I've got my second fish on. He's probably on about 10 fish already. They'll all be F1s, I should imagine. But it's looking already that the fish are down that end of the lake. I've got my mucker next to me, Dave Lloyd, on peg 16. And he's also struggling as well. So it looks like we're also runs today before we've even really got started. So it's just going to be, hopefully, an enjoyable day's fishing and try and put some fish in the net. Can't imagine it's going to be any good at the end of the day, but it's better than being at work, innit? Second fish is a carp again, look. £5 or £6. I'm just hoping there's a few of these about because there doesn't seem to be too many F1s about. I never had time to make the next feeder up when I hooked that fish. It was a pretty quick bite, wasn't it? Never had time to get it prepared. Never mind. We're away again. Sink the line, drop it in the rests. And there's fish number 3. And he snagged me up. First 2 fish, carp, brought them in sweet as a nut. I've brought this one back to about the 3/4 line and he's found a snag. So I'll give it a bit of slack line instead of pulling. Give it some slack line, let it rest a bit, and he swam out of it. So I've managed to keep the fish on. So I've got to be aware of that in future. And it always tends to be the F1s that snag you up. There you go, he's in. So there's definitely a snag out there around the 3/4 line. I haven't got a clue what that could be. I'll just have to be aware of that when I'm playing future fish.
Fell off. This one just snagged me up about 3/4 of the way back. I had to bloody slack it off and let it go.
Never got a chance to prepare my feeder again. And it's not too long and I'm into another fish. Keeping the rod pretty high to try and keep it above that snag. Keeping the rod though, that last time I was playing a fish, helped him to find that snag. Keeping the rod high while I get him from around that area and then I can bring it back down and play him as normal. Again, another F1. Now, I've got some maggots on the riddle there. I only unbagged them this morning, so they're still coming round. And the ones that haven't come round yet are clogging up the hole, so I was just removing them from the holes, making some space for the live ones to crawl through. And I turned back and my rod's bent in half. It's a good job I got proper rod rest on there, else that rod would have been gone. So I've got the mini butt rest, which if you place it right, you can push your rod into it and it'll hold it firm. But then on the front, I'm using the rod safe multi rest. That allows you to position your rod anywhere on the rod rest, but still be safe, to be fair, because it's got a steep ledge at the end of it and it's got to try and climb over the top of that before it can drag in, basically. And there's another fish that's tried to snag me up. Managed to keep him away from it though. It's definitely something out there. I don't know what it is. It's nowhere near the island. I love being on this lake because I just love rod fishing. Don't do anywhere near as much as I'd like to do of it, but I do enjoy it when I do it. When I go to places like Meadowlands and like places like that, where it's all carp fishing, I just love doing it. It's a fantastic method. Bomb and pellet, method feeder, even pellet wag and that. I just love doing all that. I just don't get to do it that often with the matches that I fish. So it's starting to slow down a bit now. We're probably about 2 hours into the match and the bites are few and far between. So I'm just going to re-plumb up my 14 metre line just to make sure that I'm proper depth before I go out there. So just double checking the depth. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So I'll take that 16 metre section off, start shipping back, and guess what? The rod's round.
Right. About two.
I should do it more often maybe. Managed to keep the fish on while I'm removing the pole from the peg. Must apologise for the noise in the background. There's a train track right behind us and it's very busy. So every now and then you're going to hear trains going by.
Probably about 5 pounds. This one's about 5 pounds, one about 4, and this
And there we go, there's another carp. I think I was lucky that that was a carp, to be fair, because I'm pretty sure with me messing about with the pole,
maybe 6.
if I'd have hooked an F1, I think he'd have found that snag by the time I got
Yeah.
myself sorted.
Just cracked me up in the neck.
This one's cracked me off in the net. Must have shook his head and broke the hook length. Just make sure I get the hook out of him before I put him in my keep net though.
Oh boy.
If he'll sit still, that is. There you go. It's out. And he's in. Put my top kit away properly before I cast back in.
Well, I was checking the depth on that rig as well, that one. While I was checking the depth on that rig, I was out at 14.5 metres when it hit there, Brad.
It's one of the benefits of having two feeders made up as well. Now that one's got a broken hook length, I can just chuck out the next feeder, chuck out the spare feeder, and repair this one, or replace the hook length while that one's fishing. Saves a bit of time. That cast was a little bit too right for my liking, but we'll leave it there while I'm messing about with this and see if we get a bite. There's another F1. Right, I'm going to start feeding my 4 foot line now. We're getting close to being 3 hours into the match. I'm going to start putting some maggots on my 4 foot line. I'm going to replumb it just to make sure of my positioning of where I've got to put my feed. And again, I'm doing it while my rod's in. I'm hoping it'll go round. Not this time. There we go. It's another fish. Look at the action of that rod. I absolutely love these rods. You've heard me say it before now. It's when I'm watching it back on the film, I say just how much action they've actually got. The bend all the way around to the butt. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. There we go, he's in. Another carp. Lovely. I never use the back wind on my reels either. I just prefer to use the clutch. You can see there where I was pulling the line off the spool there. I don't have my clutch set too tight unless I've got to. Not long after chucking back in, we're in again. And this is another carp again. I'm just about to net him. And he falls off.
Ah.
Hooked perfectly as well, he was. See, I'm using a pink wafter there as well. I switched to the pink wafter after about 4 fish, just to see if I could catch any quicker. I don't know if it made much of a difference. I caught some on that and I caught some on a hard pellet. It just stands out that little bit better. It seemed to attract more F1s than it did carp. Tried a yellow one as well. I never had an indication on that. So it's one of them things, you just got to try it and see which is best. Just lately I've been catching better on a hard pellet. And then occasionally you'll catch better on a pink or a yellow. Right, so I'm going to start putting some maggots in now. Now I'm dragging these maggots off of the top of the riddle. These are the ones that still haven't come round yet. I'm going to use them first before I use my live ones. The added bonus is they won't crawl away when they go in there. So I'm giving them a good helping of maggots onto their 4-foot lines. And we'll see if we'll catch any fish over that. I'm also going to feed up that bank with some corn, a bit of meat, and then some ground bait with some pellets mixed in. It's quite shallow over there as well, so if anything comes in, I'll be able to see them. It's nice and flat over there as well, to be fair. Plums up quite nice. I wish the wind was the other way around because I'm pretty sure I'd bag up over there. But it isn't, so there we go. Well, I'm going to put the 6mm Fin Perfect in the band now and go and have a look at 14 metres. I haven't put a pot on here, I've just been pinging pellets out there the whole time we've been fishing. So hopefully it'll be solid. That didn't take long, straight down the hole. As soon as it settled, it was under. That's a good sign. Hook came out in the net and went into the net. Well, the hook never actually went into the net. The pellet went through a hole in the net, one of the little net holes. So I just had to feed it back through. Three or 4 minutes and I'm into another fish. So hopefully I'll catch a few of these doing this for a bit to keep me interested while I wait for them maggot lines to switch on. They're not massive fish on the long line, but I'm all over a pound, so they're worth catching. I couldn't believe it. I never had another bite there. I was convinced I'd have a run of fish there. But after two initial bites, two initial fish early on the line, I never had another bite out there. So that just proved to me there weren't many fish in the area. So my hopes are to get whatever fish there are in the peg down the shelves or up the edges. And then you stand a better chance of catching carp as well in them areas. I'm still catching up the other end of the pool, so I feel I'm not going to do any good anyway. So I might as well just try and fill it in and try and drag some carp in. No fish on that initial feed that I put out there. I haven't seen a sign of a fish out there either. I'm fishing double corn hook bait on this line. I've got proper rig on again. Fishing now 19 hook length with a size 12 XSH. A 4x14 carp shallow float. And I'm using 17 Duraslip. Just putting a big pot in again, try and force something into the peg, make something happen. Sometimes you just got to do it. Give them big hits and sometimes they'll come to it. If I'm in the area, they will do anyway. Top up my maggot lines again. Have it, big pot. Making them have it. While I wait for that to settle, I'll have a quick look on that short line and see if there's anything turned up at top 2 and 2. Double maggot on the hook, size 16 GPMB. And it's quite shallow here compared to the rest of the lake on this line. It's not quite 5 foot deep here, whereas on all the other pegs that distance is nearly 7 foot. I was quite surprised. I had a bite straight away on it. And I'm thinking, happy days. This'll do if I can catch some fish here.
Yeah. First bite I've had on it as well. I ain't had a few out or anything.
And it's a decent stamp F1 as well. We'll give that another go. Couple of pinches of maggots over the top. Unfortunately, the next bite's a little roach. We'll get off that now. I'll have a look somewhere else. I'm going to dump that edge again. That's just a mixture of match method marine with some micro pellets, which I'd knocked up to try on that feeder line, just to try and get a bite. I knocked it up just as the peg was fading, just to try and get a couple of extra bites, but it never worked. Once they were gone, they were gone. I had a few more chucks over there during the match, and never had another indication over there, so looks like they disappeared. So I'm just making them have it on the other lines now. If there's any number of fish turn up, I know I'll catch them in these areas. I'm going to go back over and try where I've just put that big pot up against the bank, up the bank. I'm probably fishing about 3 foot away from the bank, because it does shelve up shallower towards the actual banking. But then you come out 3 foot and you've got a nice little flat area that's around 18 inches deep. It's exactly the same depth as it is to my right, right in the edge as well. So I'm using this one rig for both edges. I've not fed the one to my right yet anyway. So I've seen a fish come into the peg and I've got him, and it's a carp. So hopefully I can do a bit of this big potting and fish it out. There he goes. Carp about £5. I didn't know at the time, but this would be the only fish I'd catch there. Never had another bite there the rest of the day. I'm now going to try and feed my right hand edge. This side I'm going to feed with maggots and ground bait. Big potting right up that edge. See if I can get anything to come in over there. I'm not fancying my chances, to be honest, because like I said, I've not seen many fish moving around. There's been loads of roach topping, but I've not really caught many of them either. So it's time to have a look on the 4-foot line. Now this is a beast rig, this is. Again, it's our 19 hook length with a size 12 XSH on. And I'm putting a big bunch of maggots on there, 6 maggots, all up through the pointy end to leave loads of hooks showing. And hopefully we'll catch some carp here, or some big F1s. Put a big cap pot on and give it a good helping of maggots.
I'm just catching well still down there, eh?
This method's been catching loads of fish on this lake, running up to this weekend. Hopefully they'll carry on coming into it. Not an indication. So I'm having another pot. Desperately trying to make something happen now. I'll drop on the left hand side, see if there's anything that side. Nothing. Now what? They're having another pot there as well. You will come in. Still nothing. Oh dear. We'll drop on that shoreline again, see if there's anything there. I'm still catching well up the other end of the pool. Peg 14's catching some big fish down the edge now. Still me and Lloydie are struggling, as is the chap opposite me on peg 1.
No. Oh, there's me saying I have now.
Another roach.
There's one. You? Oh, yeah, I remember you saying. I put a bit down the edge here, just to have the
We'll give it another go.
come into it and I see the sign of fuck all.
There's one. Another half decent F1. I need this line to kick in. If I've got any hope at all, I need this line to really start kicking in. But after two F1s on that line, I'm struggling to get a bite again. So I'm going back to the 4 foot lines. I think the only chance I've got now is to catch on the shorter line or the 4 foot lines or possibly even the edge. Because I'm that far behind. Well, I feel like I'm that far behind that fishing long and hoping for the odd little F1 out there just isn't going to cut it. So it's all going to be short fishing from now on and up that edge. And at long last, I get a bite down there. It's not the intended species of carp, but it's a decent F1. So as long as I can keep catching them, I don't mind. Good stamp fish usually when you catch them in this depth. Although he's not massive, he's getting on 2.5 pound. That's the only bite there again. Drop a few on that left hand line again. Not too many this time. Big bunch of maggots again. Few in the pot. I've got all my shot bulked together just above the hook length on this rig. In effect, I'm trying to fish it like I would an edge rig, even though it's in 4 foot of water. I want to be able, because a few fish do come into this line. When they do turn up, a few of them do turn up, and you want your rig sitting as still as you can, basically. Quite a big float as well, that is. It's a 4x18 diamond and it takes a lot of number 8 stots to get it to sit right. It's another half decent F1. Give it another feed and I'll drop on the left hand side now and see if there's anything turned up there. Well, I'll leave that settle. The ideal scenario now would be to just fish these 2 lines and have fish off each line, alternated. And I get a bite pretty quick on this line, but he's foul hooked. It's not in the tail, but he's very close to the back end of it. And just when I think I'm winning, he falls off. This one's not foul hooked though. And it's a carp. That's what I'm after, some of them. Come on, let's have a run of these now. This is what I need. I'm going to give that another feed and go back to the right hand side now. Place on my cup ready so as I can put some maggots in the pot while I'm fishing. Then all I've got to do is pick it up, put it on and ship it out. Another bunch of maggots on the hook. And that didn't take long to go under. This is how I want it. This is exactly how I want it. Drop it in, settles under. Unhooked himself for me as well, that one. And then I can't get a bite again. So I'm back on the top 2 and 2. And I'm back into fish. Even though it's been a struggle all day, you know, at some point some fish usually turn up. It's not going to do me any good today. I mean, the pegs up the other end of the pool have been brilliant, to be fair. They've caught steady. The pools that were used today were Meadow, Matchlake and Canal. And looking back on it, I could have done with being on Canal. You'll see why in my next video. I won't go too much into it, but I could have done with being on Canal to give me an heads up. But I just love being on Matchlake anyway. I'm always happy to draw Matchlake. It's my favourite lake on the complex. And every time I go there, I only really want to be on Matchlake. I just love open waters where you can do a bit of everything, bit of rod fishing, and then fishing in the edges and that, and then 4 foot of water, maggot short. I just love that lake. So quick F1 out there, then a roach, so back in the 4 foot. And we're in again. There is things happening in the peg now. It's too little too late, but it's a day's fishing. Another decent F1 this one. Feels like this side's coming to life a bit now. The right hand side just completely died on me. I never saw a fish come in the edge either, down my right hand edge. And that bank where I caught that one carp, never had another indication over there. The 4 foot line to my left and the short line is where I ended the match on. And eventually a few fish turned up on that top 2 and 2 line. So I rotated that line and the 4 foot to my left for the rest of the match. I knew it wasn't going to do me any good, but at least I was putting some fish in the net. Still enjoyable. Kind of they'd turned up half hour earlier, I suppose. You never know. Better late than never. Half decent stamp fish as well to finish up with. Massive line on this complex. This is a top 2 and 2. Yeah, F1s in general just love that short line. And usually at some point in the match, don't matter what venue you go to, if they've got F1s in them, you tend to end up the match on this short line. Unless you catch it in the edge, obviously, unless they're carp feeding. If it's carp feeding in the edge, that's what you're fishing for. And end up having a half decent run to finish the match. It's solid now, look. Typical. And there you go, that's the last fish of the day.
Whoa!
So come the weighing. Dean, the owner, came and waved me in. Look at him. He's really poorly. He spent most of the day asleep in his motor on the car park. He wasn't feeling very well at all. So I weighed 92 pounds and 4 ounces, which is a respectable weight, I suppose, on the day. But it was nowhere near enough to win any money. I needed 130 plus to win the section, so another £40. Easily achievable if they'd turned up a little bit earlier, but they didn't. So Peg 14 won the section. He had a real good run down his right hand edge with carp. He weighed £130. On the other bank, there was an 160. The match was actually won off Peg 1 on Meadow. £189 of edge caught carp and F1s on the meat. Fair play. Nice day's fishing for him. We had a bonus, it never rained all day. So it was a nice day out in the sun. Caught a few fish. What can be better? So if you enjoyed watching that, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more like this, then please subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.